Okay. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. Okay, so let's close this. Let's close that. Let's open REVIT. Good morning to all of you. Okay, as usual, before we start, is there anything that you would like to ask me? Doubts, whatever. Things, in general, about REVIT, about the final, ask me. In the meantime, let me do something only here. Okay. Don't like it. I have to adjust a little bit my microphone. Perfect. So, how it is in Florence? Not that bad, actually, and not that bad. There are things are reopening, but there is too much crowd all around for my personal taste, so I try to I stay at home in general just in case, but things are looking positive in general. So but there is just too much crowd all around, and people don't know how to wear a mask, they don't wear gloves, then so at least for another week, me and my kids will make one more week of self lockdown because it's a little bit safer. Anywhere else, people are around, so it looks like it is fine. We will see. So, other questions? Let's say, if I want to place an object, for example, a TV on the wall, do I need to create a new level? Can you increase the volume? Why don't... Let me check. Why? No. My volume is fine. Is your volume that is low? Look. If I speak, can you see my volume here? My volume is perfect. It's not peaking. I can do this, but you have an icon here that is called speakers. Why don't you why don't you increase your volume? Because my volume is there and it is already too high. So why I have to increase my volume? Exactly. It's not that you have better ears, it's that mine is full. Buy another laptop, a better one. You know that you have two volumes when you watch a video. You have, I don't know if you have ever known this, there is a volume here, there is volume here, and there is volume there. They are completely independent. So you should, I mean, come on, volume. Exactly, or just buy a Mac to use Windows on top of it. It's pretty annoying when people say what I should... Look, if I speak, can you see that my volume here is speaking red? And this shouldn't happen. I mean, my voice is there. This is my voice, should stay on the green, and then sometimes it should pick on the yellow. And it is already like this. If I pick more, then each click, see what you hear. I mean, also, the thing is, and then, the thing is, I haven't done anything. I've placed it up and then put it down again. So it's not true that it's got better. And the thing is, are you listening my video with headphones or with your weak laptop speakers? No, now let's talk about audio. Let's see like this. Yes, laptop worse. Exactly. So how you are listening my video? With your poor speakers or with an headphone? An headphone. I don't trust you at all. But your headphone has the volume control here or not? Now it's too high. Okay. Anyway, maybe buying new headphone will be surely less expensive than buying a new laptop. I mean, also I will leave you, like real YouTuber says, I will leave you link in the description with Amazon affiliate links if you're interested in having new headphones. So stop now complaining about the audio. Let's answer to real questions. So, finally a realistic question. That is, final submission in which format? Final submission must be in PDF. What you have to do is you have to create printed layouts of your final drawings where and I think I haven't, or actually I don't remember if I have explained how to make Revit sheets or not. Have I already explained how to make drawings that are ready to be printed or not? Because I remember that I have started in okay, no yet. Okay. No, because since last week we have started viewing model in place, how to make model. So there are, in order to avoid the skipping from subject to subject, last week we finished about talking about materials, if I'm right. And so today I have to, first of all, complete material topic that is extremely important. And then there are two more last thing that we need to study in Revit. That is how to make the site, how to deal with site, and how to make printable layouts, basically. Okay, so these are things that we have to study. So in order to basically complete the subject that we have started last week, I will finish today materials, and I will probably, and I will see according to how much time then we have. I will see if it would be better to show you how to manage site in Revit, or how to make printable layouts. Both are not that hard, but first of all, let me finish with materials, and then, sorry, also someone says, I don't remember if you showed us how to make an underground parking. I don't think so. But for now, as an underground parking, you can make, first of all, like it is a level underneath level 0. And when I will show you the site, so let's do this. Today we will finish materials and I will show you site. Okay. Let's take this decision and let's start. So that I will show you also how to make underground parking. So let's see. First of all, materials. With these. Okay. Let me also resize so that I can see the chat. Okay. Perfect. So let's see materials. Last week I showed you that for common objects like walls, floors, roof, and all these kind of elements, when you want to change materials, you have basically to edit the type of your object, go to edit, and you have to start adding layers so that you can insert, let's say, a finishing layer. I showed you these. And the layer can remain 0. So I make it 1 and this would be 19. And then in here you can apply materials. From these materials listed here, there also are not that many. But this is first simple thing that you can do. This is not the only way to apply and to give a certain look to an object, also because this particular way to edit materials, let's say on a wall, will basically modify all walls that are made in this particular, with this particular type. So if I apply, let's say, copper to the wall that is called the generic 200 millimeters, when I will go to realistic, I will see that all my walls, now it's a little bit hard to see, So let's say consistent colors, not even shaded. I mean, why copper? At least we can see. So this copper material has been applied to all outer faces of these walls because all of these walls were using same exact wall type. But sometimes you can find yourself into situations like I would like to have only that face of that wall painted in a certain way and not just all walls with that type. Also because imagine a very simple case. Look. Imagine that in your project you have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you say, you know what, in my project, for my design, these walls must have these precise dimensions, but then I want this face of this wall painted in white, these in green, these in red, these in blue, this in yellow, and this is another color in black, for example. What happens if you think this is that if you just use the method of, and I'd like them to be joined, why they're split? Okay. So if you use the method of editing the types, each time that you want a wall, just one wall with another material, you should create another type. Then you want another material, another type. Sometimes this is useful, so when you have few materials and you want to quickly manage all of your materials, but sometimes it is a waste of time because it forces you to start adding more wall types or floor types or whatever. And instead of working in this way, you have another option for walls that is, and I have to find it, should be this one first, and then you have also this option here. But what you can do is, instead of giving your walls completely different types, you can go to the Modify tab, you can click this tiny button here that is called Paint, and instead of giving a material to the object, you can give a material just to a selected face of your geometries. So you can choose, let's say, the material first, then you click on the face where you want that kind of material to be painted, and without changing the wall type, you will be able to give all faces of your objects. Let's go to realistic so that you see also textures. Let's say I have oak. Let's say I will apply to these. Somewhere it should be bricks, probably. Bricks. I'll apply bricks here. We'll apply bricks over here. Okay. And using paint will override the material that you have applied into the type. Even the top. No, here, the face, not the top. Because the top is another thing. Okay? This is called paint. That is very simple. You choose the material from the library, you pick the face, poof, and you get that. Okay? How do we scale, resize, rotate the texture on a face? Later. Let me finish here. Another thing that you can do instead is you can remove the paint, and this will do the opposite. So you will reveal instead the material that you have set in your wall type. But also there is this tool here. That is, you can click split faces, so that if I make these, for example, okay, and I have two options, or I go from edges to edges, or I click, or I create, let's say, this face here, or I create closed shapes, or both. So I go from edge to edge and I click OK. Oh, you don't like it? I don't know why. Probably this is not closed. Continue. It's okay, like this. Perfect. So what happens is that when I use split faces, basically what I do is I divide the face that I can then paint in more specific ways. So now I can, let's say, paint only with this material, only this face, or only this face, okay, and then here, perfect, but I wanted another one for the outside, okay. Or you can apply this material here, okay. This is extremely important because not only for walls, but even for floors, because another interesting thing that you can do is basically this. If I have, look, if in floor plan I have my house that is made like this, splitting faces of a wall, it is useful when, let's say, I have rooms that are like this. So if I have rooms like these, I am able to paint just this part of the wall. Even if the wall is an entire long wall, I can paint just by splitting this wall into two faces. I can paint only this part of my wall with the color of the material that will be inside this room. But split face and paint are not limited to walls. I can also use them, for example, with a floor. So I can quickly make this floor. And this floor will have one material for the entire house. Okay? But what I can do is, let's say I also put a door in here. Exactly. Then see this. I can go to split faces. I select edges of my floor. And then, for example, I will start splitting my floor by matching these lines. Click OK. In this way, look, I can go here I can go here, and I will, for a second, I will hide all my walls. But just to show you that now my floor, even if it is one structure, it is divided into different faces. So now I can click paint, and for example, I will paint this face with oak, this face with stained wood, and if I go to my 3D, I will have that my single structure, that is the floor, will have two different materials. Okay? Till here? Yes? No? Maybe? Let's say yes. So now, let's see something else that is where I find all my materials, where I can have the possibility to manage my materials as well. Look. First of all, if I go to manage, I can find something that is clearly called materials. There are a lot more things actually into the manage. There are project informations, if you want to add certain datas. There are settings like global parameters, units are here, snaps are here, and you can choose which snaps you want to enable, which snaps you don't want to enable. There are project parameters. There are several things in here. What I want to show you is that there is the project location. So you can set where your project is into the world, and then it will be useful to make renderings, the coordinates, several things. But most important part that I want to show you here into manage is the part that is called materials. And why this? When I click material, I have this particular menu here, and this menu shows me a group of material that is called project materials. Basically, what they are is that whenever I load an object inside REVIT, if that object has been designed by having a certain material, the object loads the material into the project. In this way, basically, REVIT won't load the entire material library, while it will instead use only a restricted number of preloaded materials. This sometimes is fine because in this way our projects won't be heavy, but sometimes is a limit because sometimes we need to use other materials. So we need to see how to be able to make two slightly different but at the same time similar operations. Because in REVIT you can not only use materials that are basically already loaded when you load an object, but there are also materials that you can create directly in REVIT from scratch if you just want to create them. So let's see what to do. Look, first of all, in here you have materials that are loaded into the project. So all of these are materials that you can choose from when you basically just click paint, for example, and the list of materials that you can use to paint are only these. If you want to add materials, unfortunately the thing is a little bit tricky. And look, you can see that down here there is something that is very appealing. There is a beautiful material library, but unfortunately, if I select a material from the library and I try just to click it, I can see that this material is locked. And if I try to place these, at the very beginning, it looks like it is not working, but also this is already there, so let's choose another one. Look, what I have to do is I can't use immediately materials from the library to an object. Unfortunately, there is this horrible additional step. That is, I have to search the material, drag and drop, let's say grass, drag and drop the material that I would like to use first in the list. Let's say this is called grass. First, grass is loaded. First, I have to load it in this area that is called project material, and only after this additional simple step, then it will become available inside my project. So let's say there is paint, there is plaster, there is plastic. Okay? There are several pre-made materials, but also if you go in here, wait, it is here, exactly. If you click this button here, you will also find that REVIT is able to load the entire Autodesk material library. So you can have, same exact materials that you find in 3ds Max, but there is a problem, and this is a very big problem, because while I can easily use directly by making drag and drop, I can use all materials from the library that is called AEC materials. You will discover that if you want to use a material from here, something, let's say, very simple, like this fabric, leather, I can't drag and drop the material from other libraries inside REVIT. And you can see that, you can recognize that this is not possible, because material is not only that the material is locked, but the entire library is locked. And you can't just unlock it. You can't. There is another slightly annoying process to create to use these materials, and I will show you this process in a second. So step 1, just to repeat, is from the AEC library, you can just drag and drop first materials to your project, and when you click apply and when you click OK, let's say, now if I try to use them, let's see, I go to paint, for example, and I have loaded several bricks, and look, Now that I've loaded those bricks into my project, now I find them available. So I can use bricks in here, bricks in there, bricks in here, bricks in there. I have gray bricks, I have brown bricks. It is a little bit dark. I have these brown bricks in here. Okay, I have common bricks, but I have to load them first. Okay, this is step 1. Step 2 is, I want to show you the fact that you can also, by selecting materials from here, so this basically, this part in here, where is my epic pen? Here. This part, can I just paint or not? Here. Oh. Wait a second. Why it's not working? Close. Open it. Okay. So, this part here is basically only the material browser. So it shows you the library, it shows you project library, and that's it. What you have in here instead is the proper material editor. So not only you can select materials from the library, or you can drag and drop materials from generic library to the project library. But once that they are into the project library, in here you can start changing them. And you have several ways to change. You have different tabs. We won't see them all. I will show you only 2 tabs for the material editor. There are the one that is called graphics and the one that is called appearance. Because in identity, the only useful thing is you can change the name. Then what happens instead in these 2 tabs, the one that are called graphic, one that is called graphic, and the one that is called appearance. That is very simple, and it is this. Whenever you change things inside the area that is called graphics of a material, this is how the material will look like into technical views. So when you use shading styles like hidden lines, shaded, consistent color, and so on, this is how the material will look like. But if you change instead what is written and what is set into the tab that is called appearance, whatever you change into appearance is whatever happens when you, oops, it's a little bit too wide. Whatever happens when you render your material. So whenever you use realistic, ray traced, or render for your materials. And what is great is that Basically, Revit uses what in 3ds Max is called the Autodesk generic template. So if we go, let's say, to brick, and I will focus on these two tabs, graphic and appearance, look what you see. Into graphic, you see that when I use, let's say, consistent color, my brick material will look with this kind of color that is in between red and brown. It will have a hatch into technical views, and if I have an object made with this material, when I will make a section, it will be shown with this hatch into section. And let's see if it is true. So, click OK. Let's see. I have bricks, those bricks in here and there. So if what is written there it is true, when I change from ray trace here to shaded or to hidden lines, walls that I have that material shouldn't be white, but they should have a brick hatch. Let's see if it is true. No way! It is true. Look. But also, if I change my view shading style to shaded, not only I should see that black and white hatch, but the background should appear also with that color between red and brown. Let's see if it is true. No, stop it. It is true. Fantastic. So, if I change it, look, then I should just remember not to save it. But if I make it orange, and I click apply, all my objects that have that material in my consistent color shading style, boom, they will be orange and not more with that ugly dark color. Okay? As well as if I change, let's say, this pattern, and I use this weird one, when I click OK, I will see that my material has been changed, and instead of showing me bricks into this shading mode, so in a technical view, this will show me this orange background with this vertical line. But I will go back. If I go to a realistic view instead, nothing has changed, simply because whatever happens into realistic or into rendering mode is what inside my material is managed by the tab that is called appearance. So in here I see the preview, and if I drag these I can just have a bigger preview. Not only I can quickly see the behavior of my material applied into slightly different looking objects, so I can click scene and I can change it to sphere like 3ds Max, can change it to cube, I can change it to canvas or object, there is this weird thing, or what else, draped fabric, if I want to see how it will look like if I'm making fabric, and so on. So those are just previews. I will make walls in this case, because this should be for walls. Okay? And I can start understanding how my material will look like. a keyword if I have to make a database. But then the thing becomes a lot more interesting, because so according to the class that you select from identity, into appearance you will have more or less parameters to deal with. Why this? Simply because if you're making masonry, let's say, a brick can't be transparent, or it can be, I don't know, reflective, or so into the class of material that is masonry, you will see that you have only the possibility to have a texture or not. But if you have it, this is the preview. You can click to the picture that is the one that is linked right now, and you can start having fun with your pictures. What it means? You can start by changing the size of the picture like you do in 3ds Max. You can change the rotation of the picture to answer the question that your classmate asked. Okay? You can change the offset, so from where the material starts, let's say 10 centimeters, you can slide the object. You can change the scale, say 50. And your texture will look smaller. Okay, put it back to the previous value. You can choose to tile or not your image. So if you are making, let's say, a canvas, a painting, and so on, you don't need to tile. You need just one repetition that will be stretched according to how big your object is. So maybe you just need these 0 exactly. Okay, and then according to how big is your object, you can change dimensions, let's say 400, and you will get something like this. Okay, and let's try to fix it, because I don't want to ruin my beautiful library. Tile. Okay, so first of all, you are able to manipulate all of these existing materials. Parameters that you find inside REVIT are exactly same parameters that we have already studied in 3ds Max. So you have first part in all materials that is always about the diffuse color. And after these, according to the class, so the template that you are using, you can have more or less parameters. And I want to show you the fact that you can create even your own materials from scratch. Okay? But starting a material from scratch is something that requires, there is no, look, you can create a new material here, okay, but it's not there, and your material will start by being called default new material. And if you make another one, it will be called default new material 1, and so on and so on and so on. So first thing that you have to do is you have to select the material that you have created. You need to start by going to identity, changing the name of your material. Let's say we want to make tiles, French tiles. Okay. And the class, I don't want to use any specific class in here. I just want to show you that by using generic, you have basically the exact same control that you have when you use 3ds Max. So look, when I select, I give the name, I give the type, that here is called class, I have to go to graphics, and in here I need to specify how my material will look like when it appears in a technical drawing. So look, I want to use, let's say, this texture, French tiles. Let's see. Let's see if I find a nice... Give me 1 second. Seamless. No French fries. This one. These are very nice. Okay, so I will simply save this picture like I do in 3ds Max. Nothing fancy. Let's see if I have exactly here. There is a folder called texture. Perfect. So now check this. I have my French tiles. They are white, so the color for me will be, when I make my technical drawing, will be this kind of pale, sad, bluish. And maybe I want also a pattern, so I will choose, let's say, this one. Okay, and this is how my material will look like in technical drawings. It will have this pattern into the face. It will have this background color if I use consistent color. But then I want to go into appearance. And the name is generic 6. Absolutely not. These are French tiles. Generic material is fine. Let's go to the color, and I don't want to use a color while I want to use a texture, that is the file that I have downloaded. So what I will do is I will click inside this big rectangle that now is white, and I will load the texture that I have downloaded. That should be this one. Look at that! Look how cute is becoming my material. Okay? But this is not enough. I need to start understanding how big the texture is in reality. So once that I apply, I have to click on it again, so that I open this dialog box that is my texture editor. And I can see that Revit starts by thinking that my texture is, this is written here, 30 by 30 centimeters. But in my picture, there is not one tile only. There are 2 tiles for width, 2 tiles for height. So in reality, the dimension of this texture is 60 by 60. So to adjust the scale here, I will change the scale by typing 60 by 60. Okay? Till here, and I click done. I mean, it is just like using 3ds Max with a slightly different interface. Okay? I can also check another scene, and for example, I can see how this looks like into a plane or into a torus, just to check the behavior, or into a cube. I mean, just to try different, just to see different ways on how this material is applied, or even a wall, even if I were using to a floor. But just to understand if my scale is right and if it is correctly working. Okay? So what I have then is, I have glossiness, and even here it is exactly like 3ds Max. Glossiness 0 will make the material opaque, glossiness high will make the material shiny, and also highlights can be metallic or not, according if your material is acting like metal or mirror, or like any other common reflective material, like plastic, like wood, like tiles, and so on and so on. But then, exactly like 3ds Max, there is another parameter. There is reflectivity. So, not only how the material will basically bounce highlights of my light sources, but reflectivity is how much my object will reflect the environment, also all objects that are next to it. And again, I can increase it or not, and you will see that my material will start looking more reflective. I can even change from non-metallic to metallic, so that reflection will be like a mirror if you use metallic, or like real tiles. And in this case, very shiny tiles. These were too high, but now they are shiny tiles. It is not the case of this material, but into the generic type, there is also transparency. And what is transparency? Transparency is the fact that you can see through a material. But we will see this in another material, so I will skip for now transparency. There is also cutout. I don't remember if we have seen cutout in 3ds Max. I think yes, but I would like you to confirm, just to let me know if we have seen cutout into 3ds Max. Have we seen it or not? Have we seen cutout parameter in 3ds Max? Yes, no, no. Yes, exactly. Oops. Yes, in 3ds Max too. I don't remember. I mean, this is beautiful. Look. I've made the question and I have 3 answers, 4 answers, completely different. Now, he instead is simply giving a hand to his classmate because he texted him and he said, please, 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 type no into the chat so to let Marco see that I am right. So, what is cutout? Cutout is a very basic parameter that works in this way. It uses black and white images, and basically it works like this. If you have a material with a texture, but in your texture you use a black and white one, let's say a texture that would be like this. Perfect. When you render your object, the cutout map will work in this particular way. Whatever is white into the cutout map will make my object remaining visible. Whatever in my cutout map instead is black will make my object in that part becoming invisible. So not even transparent, but invisible means not renderable. So cutout, for example, is used in those kind of fabrics that are like this. Let's say this. I mean, this one. This is perfect as example. 700 euros. I mean, just look at the example. Ooh, how classy this thing is. So can you see this material here? This is a material that has a material that has all these holes that have also a very precise shape. There are octagons. So for example, to make that material, I could just use a bright yellow texture, but I will make a cutout map. A cutout map that will be like this. It will have a black octagon here and smaller elements here. This is wrong. It's okay. Like this. Perfect. If this is my texture, and I just use like a yellowish material, my material will look yellowish, reflecting or whatever in this area, while whatever is black in my texture will make my material hollow and I will be able to see through. Same technique it is used when you take a picture of a person and let's say this. It is also called cutout people. But if I download this image and I use it on a plane to make my render, what happens is that I have not only those people visible in my render, I will also see this entire white area all the way here. So what I have to do is I have to make a cutout map that will be basically all these persons. Let's make it faster. All these persons should be white in the cutout app, and all environment like this. I'm making super fast, okay? Perfect. And everything else in here should be black. this is what a cutout map is. And if I use these in whatever software, basically I will have that white part will remain visible, so I will see pictures of that person's, and black part will disappear. Then, if you don't believe me, if we have time, I will save this picture and I will show you how it works. Okay? But this is what cutout map is. You can make it in Photoshop, you can download it, but this is how the cutout map works. For example, if you have legally both Photoshop as me, without bothering teachers like, Marco, where I can find it? It's not find it, you have to buy it. Okay, then if you have Photoshop and you have always latest one, updated whenever there is an update, basically the cutout map is something that works like this. You make this selection, you shift F5 and this must be black, invert your selection, shift F5 and make it white. Boom! This must be another file, so this would be cutout, and if you make a material where the previous picture is the texture, the color, and this one is the cutout, beside a few mistakes here and there, when you render, you will see only these people without the white background. Okay? So this is the cutout. On the Black Friday sale, it's exactly, I mean, instead of buying unusable stuff, I've bought the entire Adobe suite. So, let's continue. After cutout, there is something that is self-explanatory, that is called self-illumination. So, you have the fact that it will glow, okay, and you have simple presets. So, if you want to simulate like an LCD screen, you just select this preset, and you can also use whatever kind of color you want, like 2000 would be yellow, okay, and you can make your objects glowing, okay, or you can use custom and you can choose the amount. This would be super. You can change the filter color as well, this big white rectangle, and it will make your object glowing when it renders, so that it slightly projects light on other objects. Then there is another parameter that you should know that is called bump. And what bump is in Revit is exactly what bump is in whatever other software. That is, it makes bumpy surfaces. So, if you want to make tiles especially, you must use a bump texture. And I will, I closed Photoshop, I will reopen. For example, I will make my own bump texture from this texture here, from the one that I'm using for tiles, so that they will match. Okay, so these are my tiles. The simple thing that I will do to make my bump would be, I will make a black and white image. So I will make this selection, and I will go to edit and I will click stroke. Let's say the color must be black. Inside, and I will show you then what I'm doing. I will make like 3 pixels. 3 pixels are a little bit too much. So edit, stroke, 1 pixels inside, so that I start by having this black, slightly visible frame all around. What I will do next is I will put a guide in the middle and another guide in here. But what I will do is I will make, now remember, I've made outer edges 1 pixel wide. What I will do is I will now make, if I quickly find it here, a line, and the line will be 2 pixels wide. The stroke is black. Yes, the fill, nothing. And why it has to be 2? Simply because when I have repetitions of these texture, left and right edge are in contact, so 1 pixel will find next pixel and edges will be 2 pixels wide. So the cross in the middle instead will be already 2 pixels. It's a very nerdy thing, I know, but this is how correctly a bump map will look like. I will then hide the background, or I will quickly instead make it white. Shift F5, make it white. I will press Ctrl H to hide all those rulers, and you see that these are a little bit wider than the one on the edge, and I will save these as tile bump, but not as a Photoshop. I will save it as a JPEG. Okay, and like 3ds Max, I will use for bump, I will enable it first by checking here. I will use the texture that I have created 2 seconds ago, and because I have made my tiles 60 by 60 centimeters, even here I will make the bump 60 by 60 centimeters, so that, and you can see the preview, how beautiful and precise this thing is. I click done, and I have my great looking material. Then there is last parameter that we don't find in 3ds Max, that is called tint, because if I want, I can quickly override a color to my material. So if I want to make variations of the same material by using tint, I can override whatever is white color into my textures with a tint. So if I want to make this kind of material, I won't do something like make a texture, set it in Photoshop and whatsoever, while I will simply instead right click on my existing material. I will click duplicate, and maybe again select, right click, duplicate, so that I can have same exact materials, one without tint, another one with a yellow tint, and another one with another tint, and so on and so on. Even if they are changing together, I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, let's delete them. That's weird. Shouldn't change together, but it's okay. So basically, you can make materials in Revit, and for example, just to test it, look, I will hide my walls for a second. I will click Modify, Paint. I will use French tiles. Here, I will paint these. Boom! And I have my phenomenal looking French tiles applied in that particular part. So, can we also just modify existing tile materials? Sure you can. Yes, materials, like in any software, can be modified as well. So, why not? Sure you can. Okay? There is one last thing that I want to show you into the material editor that will basically open a lot of possibilities in using materials in Revit. That is this. When I go to materials and I make a new one, by clicking here, I may create a new one. Okay? It is a shame to having to create always materials from scratch, while if I click here, if I click this button and I have, just next to me, I have all these beautiful materials that could be used, and I can't because honestly, there is no way you can just drag and drop these materials in your project. So where is the trick? How can I avoid making materials from scratch while I have such a beautiful library in here? Well, there is actually a trick, a solution. That is, if you really want to use materials from the library, what you can do is you can select a new material. You can click the material that you have in here, and you can start by trying this button that appears on the right of the object, called Replace Current Asset into the Material. So you can try this. And check this, because this will leave you speechless. By selecting a new material and by clicking that thing, basically in one click, what you are doing is, except for the name, but to your new material, you have applied all parameters that were in the material that you have selected into the library. So, except for the name that you have to manually change into terracotta, in one click, you have basically taken all properties of that material into your new one. And now, with this unbelievable trick, I find myself a beautiful terracotta material that I can use, for example, to paint this part here. So, where's my library? Here, sorry. Terracotta. Paint it here. Boom! And in a matter of seconds, even if it was looking impossible, like a mission impossible, to use that material in my project, instead, by knowing that tiny, horrible little button, I discovered that I can make copies of whatever material that I find in other libraries just by opening the library, making a new material that is please don't crash, that is called default new material. You select material from here. Which one? I don't know. Flooring, wood, no. Generic, no. Something nice. Like tile. No, it's ceramic. Should be a lot of interesting tiles. Or in here I've seen Autodesk. Oh, look at that. Ceramic, porcelain tiles, these, concrete. Oh, look how many concretes there are. Like smooth, precasted concrete, okay? You make a default new material. You select it from the material editor. You click this tiny button here with these two arrows that is called replace the current asset in the editor with this asset. That technically doesn't mean anything, but in one click you have turned your default new material into a beautiful, smooth, precasted concrete. And the only effort that you have to put is you have to be so nice to change the name of your new material. And now you apply, you click OK. Let me display walls again, and now, for example, I can paint what is smooth. Here, I can use this material in these walls. Okay, and if I don't like it, I can still change the texture, the orientation, and whatsoever. Okay? Because, believe it or not, this is it for materials. I mean, at the beginning it looks like a complex part of the software, while just by knowing that, first of all, it is exactly like 3ds Max, and second of all, there are these small tricks that you can use. You will see that using whatever material you want in REVIT is not actually that hard. Okay? Is it clear for materials or not? Let me know so that I can quickly show you just a couple of things about the site, but they will be amazing. Okay. Perfect. So, let me show you the site. Also because, I mean, for the site, while it is interesting, but there are just some tools that we need to really understand, just to have an idea of how potentially we can manipulate the site. And first of all, to make things related to the site, I know this will shock you, we need to go to site. And sorry, we don't have to go to Site Designer. We have to go here to the menu that is called Massing and Site. What is this Site Designer? No. Wow, this is new. Anyway, so let's go here to Massing and Site. And in here, the part that is about site is this. And the main part of making the site is by using this tool that is called Topo Surface. Topo Surface, this. Topo Surface, this one. Oh. What is a topographic surface? Basically, like it happens in reality when you see topographic maps, in Revit, what you can do is you can basically create a surface by placing points in the space. What you will do is, with your mouse, you place a point, so you place it in X, Y, and then each point has a certain height value. And according to all points that you want to place and all heights that you set for those points, Revit will create a surface that combines all those points together. After creating the topo surface, we can use certain other tools that would be extremely important, but they require topographic surface to be created before. So let's see how it works. I can create, first of all, the topographic surface in two views only. They must be or the 3D viewport, or I can create the topo surface by being sure that I use the site view. Because if not, in other levels, the visibility of my topographic surface is disabled. So it looks like it doesn't work while it's simply hidden. So, or you work in the 3D view or you go into the site view, okay? Let's go to the site view, why not? So let me go to the site view just to make it more precisely. So, let's see this. What I have to do is I have to click place point, and before or after, I can also change it later, I can also specify the height of my phenomenal point. So look, I will start by doing something like this. Let's say this house into a desert highland. So I will start placing points, and these points have all the height of 0 centimeters, and then the highland has like a mountain on a certain area and it has a lake into another area. So then look, I will start by changing the height of my next points, maybe 50 centimeters, and I will make a second row of points, and all these points are 50 centimeters above previous row. So basically now I'm starting by creating a mountain that is lower on edges and it is higher on the top, but not all the way to the top. So look, I make 100 centimeters and I will show you that this mountain has a cliff in here, then 150 for example, and it will be here. Then 200 for example, stuff like that. And then instead I will go back to 0 and I will have here that the surface goes down. I will make minus 50 or minus 100 here. Perfect. And when I am done, I click OK and see what we have built, because this will be insanely beautiful. I go to my 3D view and this is the object, the mountain that we have created. Right now it has this horrible brown material, so I will quickly select and I will change the material and I will use, luckily I have dragged and dropped grass before, so I will use grass. It's still a little bit dark. Let's see if I make just consistent colors. Nah, I mean, let's make it with hidden lines. It's okay, because it's a little bit dark and maybe, but look what I have. I have made this site that is like an island where that has here an area that is going down 1 meter. Here it has an area that is going up till 2 meters, and unfortunately my house is just there. Okay? But what you can do when you make also your terrain, that is the topo surface. First of all, you can make a building pad. A building pad is basically, like the animation says, is like when you have a mountain and with an excavator you dig basically the mountain, and then you can have two possible solutions. There are, if in section you have a hill that is like that and you want to build your house here, in section, a building pad will be an area of the hill where you dig this part, so you remove this part, and at the same time you add this part in here to have a level platform where you can place your house. So look, on my terrain I will click building pad. I have to choose in which level I want the building pad to be, and for example I will set it to level 2. And I will simply draw a closed boundary that can match or not the house that I have made. Let's say I will make it like this. It has to be just a closed area. I click OK. And if I look at my building pad, this is what I have built. I just need to select all my previous objects, or I will do this. You remember we have selected filter, so I will select all doors, all floors, all split face, no pads, no topography, and I will, for all walls, I will move them to level number 2. Okay, for all floors, I will move them to level number 2, and so on and so on. What remains? Split face is fine. Okay, so now I have built my terrain and my building pad. Okay, is it clear? Or I can even edit my terrain. So I can edit the surface, and if I see that I've made a mistake, let's say I can start moving these points by setting other heights. Let's say I can make it 300 for these, and 300 for those as well. Maybe 400 for these, so that will make these very rocky terrain. These and these will be 400 as well. Very nice. These will be 350. Okay. And you can create your own terrain as you need. If you want to place terrain according to dimensions, so let's see this in Photoshop. Thanks for explaining. Black Friday. Can we also put yes? With our desired diffusion, yes, yes, yes. Can we place the terrain according to dimensions? If you want to do this, you simply need to create or to import a drawing that has dimensions. What it means? It simply means this. In your project, you have specific dimensions. If I remember, there are 70 by 60 meters. So what you can do is, if you go to your site view, you can simply create model line, and you can make just a 2D sketch in REVIT where you make your drawing. This is in centimeters, so I make from here to here 70 meters are 70 meters. I will click in here, 70, 1, 2. These are 70 meters. Then I measure from here to here. Perfect. Select these, 60, 0, 0. In centimeters. If you not feel comfortable, just change units to meters. I mean, just to check. No, they are super precise. So this is the area that you have to work with. So just by knowing these, you can go to massing and site, topo surface, place the point and snap them. Your first set of points to these vertices. Let's say now By mistake I started -1, but why I'm showing you this? Because let's say I start from 1 meter. No, from 0. Okay, and I make my flat, beautiful area here. Then what I can do is also I can start doing this. Look, in here I should draw them before, but I can make these points that are at 0. Okay, then I can make like -1, and I will make something like this. Okay, I can go up, down, it doesn't matter. But what is important is also this. Once that I have in 3D my topo surface, I can do something else, like I can add a sub-region. And this would be useful if I want to make, let's say, a street into my terrain. I can simply add a closed area and is it closed? No, it is not. Okay. And if I want now, look, I go in a real consistent color. Adding a sub-region is like splitting basically, so that I can give this another material. Let's say I will give, it should be asphalt. Exactly. I can give these instead. I can give not the line here, so let's delete the line, the terrain. I can give grass, or this weird green thing just because it is brighter. But in this way you can basically start cutting also areas inside the terrain. And what is nice is that the sub-region works no matter which height you have. Look, if I edit the surface and I start, let's say, changing these points here, and I change their height to 1, then I place other points at 2, and I place them here and here, then at 3, and I go here and there, and then again at 2, here and here, and then 1 here and here. So even if my surface is going up and down, this sub-region will follow my beautiful construction. Okay? And last thing, just to show you the question that is how to make a parking, that is nothing else to do then, if you want to make a parking lot underneath your terrain, you need simply to add a level underneath the terrain. Okay? And let's say instead of level 3, I will call it parking. So when I make my, in 3D, look, or into side view, when I select the terrain and I go to massing and site, and when I make a building pad, The only difference, if I want to make a house or I want to make a parking lot, will be that my building pad will be on my parking level, so that I will do something like this. Let's say. It has to be just a closed shape. I click OK. And you will see why I've made this shape in here. Because into the building pad, I just make a hole that is all the way down to the level of my parking. But in this part in here, I will go to my side view. I go to architecture. I could make a ramp, but I'm lazy. I will make a floor. And if you remember, I showed you that you can make a floor that has slopes. So I will make this floor in here. But I will use a slope arrow from here to here. And I will say, at the tail, these must be parking and the offset 0. At the head, these must be level 1, offset 0. And 1 second. And with these, we have finished, because we have this beautiful floor that makes the ramp. Okay? If this is clear for today, this will be enough. So, 3 seconds to tell me if you have questions, because if not, for today we have finished it. Wait a second. Okay, I'm back. Perfect. Everything is clear, so with this being said, I will stop here and cable detachment, and we will see each other next week. Okay? For now, bye everyone. It has been a pleasure.